We are going to be recreating this dashboard to look just like this. If you look at what we have on our screen, the one below is actually before the makeover, and the one above is after we have actually transformed everything. So if you want to actually get something like this done, all you have to do is to get the one before the makeover downloaded to your system, as well the dataset, and follow me step by step on how we got it transformed to look like the one that says after. So we're going to write some DAGs and as well create some custom background for our dashboard. If you are still watching, you must have gotten the dataset downloaded and as well this very one on my screen. So the very first thing I want you to do for me right now is to go to Home. Then from Home, click on this particular Transform Data. So the question is this: why are we doing this? So I want to actually show you what you can do when you have an error that says data source cannot be found, or there is some kind of change in data source. So everything here will not display. It will give you an error. That was because this particular PBIX was not created on your own PC. So to solve it now, once you have the error and this particular table is not displayed, the first solution you can get is going to this particular source right here. Make sure you click on the source and click over this particular settings icon. So over here you have browse. So once you click on browse, it's going to take you to your system. Search where you have the data you have downloaded right in and click on the table you want to actually make an update to. So in my own case, it's transaction. So I'll click on transaction and I will open. That is all I have to do. Once you get back here, click on OK. That will definitely update this for you. Another way to actually have it done again is click on Home. Make sure you are on Home and go over to Data Source Settings. So once you have clicked on data source settings right here, don't go nowhere, just be right on the data source in current file. So you are going to have all the tables you have imported into Power Query right here. Then click on any one of them you want to actually make changes to or update and click on change data source. Now you have something similar to what we have gotten right here. So we click on this particular browse and we pick up the file from here. So once you have done that, open, that is all you need to do. Then you click on OK right here. Then you have solved the problem. So that is the first thing you have to do, because if you mistakenly refresh what I've sent to you as PBIX right now, you are going to encounter an error. The dashboard you have downloaded with its data is some kind of basic dashboard that every person can actually build if you just get introduced to Power BI. So it's functional and it has just little insight because of the limitation of the persons to use DAX to actually get things done in a very nice way. So we have two dashboards right here. So here is the second one. So we're going to transform those two dashboards into something like this. This is the first one. So over here, if I hover, you can see it's changing. I can decide to select somebody like this person right here. As you can see, the whole information gets updated and everything, age, how much revenue this person has generated in the salon, and numbers of transactions or how many persons he had actually attended to. The rating is 2.9, which is the customer rating, and we have shaves and haircuts and all of that. So we can decide to change from percentage to normal value. So this is what it is. If you look at it, we express the values right here in Naira, which is Nigerian currency. You can decide to do this in dollar, pounds, or Ghana cedis, depends on the country where you're watching from. So let us look at the second one right here. So on the second one, we can decide to look at it based on time. So right here, we are looking at this based on time, and we can select any person we want to look at. So this person has its own busiest time around 5 p.m. So if we switch to this particular Chinedu Okeke right here, so we're going to see that is actually 6:45. So if we hover over here, we have this to be 6:45. At 6:45, he attended to 43 persons and he made 50,000 Naira. So now look at this particular part where we actually check if he is meeting the target based on numbers of people he attended to, and as well the revenue he has generated. So we're going to create all of this, transforming the basic dashboard you have seen into something like this. Before we delve into the transformation of this particular basic dashboard we have right here, let us look at the data we're going to work with. So I'm going to first of all go to my transactional table. This is where we recorded our daily activities right in, or daily transaction rather. So we have the ID, and you can walk through the whole columns and start thinking of what kind of insight can I actually get from this data based on the columns and the rows I have, right? So now you have seen that we have something like this. Walk through it to understand what you're going to do with this. The next one, we have the target. So for the target, over here, we have customer target, which is how many customers is expected out of this person with this particular ID, and how much revenue is expected out of him. So does he meet it up or not? So we're going to show that in our dashboard. So next is the date table. So this is a custom date table. So you don't need to touch this. It has already been customized right here for you. Then the next one we're going to look at is actually this particular one right here. So we have the ID of the barbers, we have the age, the name, and this is something very important. So next is for you to look at the relationship right here. So if your own relationship is not like this, please make sure you match the IDs just the way I have mine on my screen right now. All right. I have already outlined what we are going to actually use to achieve what we need to get the basic dashboard transformed. So go ahead and read through all of this right here. If I scroll down now, we have the first dashboard. So read through it for you to know what exactly you are about to delve into. And you can see what we have to achieve, right? So if I scroll all the way down again, I have for the second dashboard right here. So read through it to understand exactly what it is that you need to achieve. The final part before we start the creation is actually you drawing a layout of how your dashboard would look like. So we're not going to use the same look we have in the basic one. We want to actually create something very much more advanced, just like what I've shown you in the highlight, right? So over here, we're going to have slicers, and over here, we're going to have the slicer below here, and we're going to have a chart, bar chart or column chart. So it's two choices. So it's either we use the bar or the column chart. So right here is going to be a line chart, and we're going to have a slicer here. Then our KPI will be here, the dashboard name. So we have this layout. The next thing right now is for we to actually walk down to PowerPoint and make sure we do something exactly like what I have right now and give it some kind of nice colors. We are starting off with this one here. But look at it. If I click over this particular part, the whole chart gets disappear. This is what you get when you are using the cards inside Power BI, right? So what I'm going to do right now is to actually have this removed. You can see I can adjust it, but I'm going to delete it totally from here. So that doesn't solve the whole problem. If I click on this particular one right now, the same thing happened. That was because this person is actually using cards from Power BI. That was why I always don't use it. I'd rather go ahead and create my, dashboard background from another tool. So I'm going to have this removed. So just go over here and have this turned off. Then this one should be like that because it's just the card. Then we just get this one away. So it's looking weird right now, but no problem. We can solve the problem that we have right away just by going to view. Then from view, let us decide to use something like a dark color for now, for the time being. So here we go. Oh, this is cool. So later, after all, once we are done creating all the charts and everything is being arranged, we can just bring in a custom background right here. So with this, we can get started. Okay, let us identify some common mistake this person had actually made. So over here, we have this particular part to be the total revenue. And if you look at what we have here right now, it's actually giving us the revenue target. So why should we have this separately sitting here while this one is actually talking about the same thing? So for that, we have to fix it. The next one here is actually this particular one, transaction. So transaction actually has a target. So we need to actually make sure we match it up with the target, right? So now that you have understood what this is right now, we can actually see how we can solve the problem. Let us identify another problem we have right here to solve. So looking at this particular part here, so if you look at this, it's actually the names of the barbers that we have in our salon. So let's go over to the table view. And if I click on this table here, you can see we have some couple of images for them, right? So for that, instead of us to use this basic slicer right here, we rather use something very much more beautiful, which is the new slicer that Power BI just introduced of recent. All right, the next one is this particular one right here, which is the total revenue. That is good. The line trend, or the line chart rather, is okay. But the problem is, if we go over to where the data is coming from, the transaction table right here, you can see we have time for every single transaction that had been recorded, right? So what do? Let's start from here. Okay, for the first time, I'm going to keep this chart the way it is. I'm going to get this one deleted. This is the only chart I'm going to delete for now. Then I'll be able to shift this one to this particular part. Then I'll focus on this particular one while I make it a bit bigger. So if I go over to here now, I can see right here, I can see the time of transaction, right? Which is this one. So there is no way I can drag it in here. It's going to create some kind of weird look. So what I'm going to do right now is very simple. I will go over to this particular modeling, then click over to this particular new parameter. And from there, I'm going to choose the field parameter right here. So once I am in the field parameter, before we go to the field parameter, let me show you one thing. So I'm going to cancel it. So over here, we have the date table that is connected to this particular transactional table right here. So we're going to use the date table as well as the time we have in here. So going over to this particular part now, get the fields. And here we are on the field and change it. So you can actually change this one to switch time, or maybe switch time month, wherever. It's just some kind of weird something. So over here, I'm going to go to my date table. Inside the date table, we have the month. I'm going to pick the month right here. Then we can actually close it. Then go to transaction. If we scroll down now, this time around, we want to get the time in here. So once we have all of this here, double click on this one and have this one edited. So I'm going to remove all of these parts. I just want to have month and time. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this. So it has created for me a slicer that I can actually use to control my chart. So I'm going to make it a bit smaller and bring it somewhere around here for now. So this one, we don't need to keep it, but I'll keep it right here for now. So once we have this right here, so it's not controlling this chart for now. So what do? Let us take a look at what we have in it. So going over here now, we click on this table. So we now see that we have month and time, and we have the tables or the columns from the table of transaction and date table. So we have this particular one right here, which is 0 and 1. So 0 is for month and 1 is for time. In the subsequent time to come, we are going to need this particular switch time month order number right here. But for now, let's go back here. So we are back right here. When we click over here now, you can see we have switch time. So I'm going to click over this particular chart right here, then click over here. Then now we go over to month. The x-axis is what we need to change. Click on it and let's go ahead and close this. We open this new one right here and we get this one in. So nothing seems to change. So let's find out. If I click on time, what do we see? So click on time. It has switched to time for me, and this is beautiful. So one chart will definitely control time and month. So both of them needs to be a line chart for we to see trend. So you can now see we have this beautiful trend right here. In case if your own is different, what this person had done is going over to this particular format here, and from formats, let's see, from format he went to the line chart here, line chart, and he went down straight up to this particular part. So it was like this before, and he changed it from that to this smooth line, and it's a bit different right now, right? So what I'm going to turn on right now is just to make it to look like an area chart. So I want to turn on this particular shade area. I'll just turn it on. So I have something like this. This is not the color we're going to use. Later, after all, we're going to change the color, but for the time being, let's control how we look at this. Open this particular shade area, scroll the way down until you find this. So you can control how the color is being shown, right? So you can just take it this way and create a very shady stuff. I think something like this would look very cool. So I'm going to tell you firsthand that this is the first thing you need to do to actually have this dashboard updated. So for the title, I don't want to keep it. I will create my own dynamic title later, after all. Okay, we have gotten this right now. We can just manage the space we have for now. Just bring it down a little bit, and I'll just move this over here. Okay, the next thing now is this. We want to actually identify what is the opening time and the closing time, which is very simple. We want to see the opening time and the closing time. And the thing is this, we only want to show the opening time when and the closing time when we are looking at what? When we are looking at this particular view. What view are you talking about? The view I'm talking about right now is that we are looking at time. So if we switch to month, we want that particular opening and closing time to disappear. When we turn back time on, we want it to appear. That is exactly what we want to actually create right away. So to create our opening time and closing time, we go over here. So now we are going to create a measure, just something very basic. So I would put my measure inside here. So right click and create a new measure. Okay, on the new measure, I'm going to call it opening time. So is equals, I will do max. That is just it, because we are looking for, I think I will do max. Oh, sorry. For the opening, it should be min. We do min for opening, and we bring in the time column here from the transactional table. We close and hit our enter key. This will definitely create for us the opening time for our business. So for we to create the closing time, we just right click and we do something similar to what we have just done right now. It's just that right now we're going to be using max to retrieve the max date from the transaction table. So time. So max. We go with this, hit the enter key. So we have just gotten this created, but what I've just said would not happen if I should actually bring this into a card. So let's select empty place, then bring this particular closing. So you might have something like this. It looks weird because it's bringing date as part of it. So what do we need to do? Click over on the closing time and click over here to change the format. We're going to use the short time. So that will definitely change the look we have here. Beautiful. Then we go to the particular opening time and do the same thing for it. So here we have the short time. So very correct. So now we have something like this. I will bring in the other one, which is this very opening time here. So I have this as well. So we have both the opening and the closing time. Let me just stick them away from the chart a bit. So if you look at it, whenever I click on this particular month here, nothing happens. It's still actually very active. And what I want for it is to make sure it disappears. So let's see what we're going to do right now. Go over to your table view, then click over to this particular switch time and month. Then look at this particular part. Let us look at what number is used to identify time. That is 1, right? So we go back here. So we now go over to the closing time. What we're going to do now is to store this in a variable, which is very simple. So we create a variable, and this variable will be closing time equals. So we have just stored in that particular max time in here right now. So the next thing we're going to do right away is to make sure we actually find way to some kind of create how this would look like. We're going to look at, let me not make it complicated. There is no need for we to create a variable for this. So let us remove the variable. The variable is gone. So instead, we can just use the if condition because we're not doing something very much more complex. So we do if selected value here. So for the selected value, we actually bring in order from what? From the switch time month. Then we go ahead and close it. So if it is equals to 1, then that is when we want to show this. Otherwise, what we want, we want to have nothing shown. You use this particular double quote to mean nothing should be displayed. We go ahead and close our if. So to make it easy, you can bring this down here. Then that is what you should do. So if you look at it now, this looks great. Tab key to indent it. So this is what we want to do. Now I hit my enter key. We should have the closing time disappear if this does work. Now it's gone. Can you look at that? It's gone. So we're going to repeat the same thing for our opening time. I can just copy this particular part here, then go over to this particular opening, and I'll paste this one, remove it. So I'll paste it over here. All I'll change is actually changing this one from max to min. So min, here we go. So if I hit the enter key, the same thing would happen to this very one here. So the thing is this, if you look at it, it will not actually take off the particular title we have right here. So what do? In this case, we would have to create our own custom title. But first of all, let us check it out. If I click on time, what happens? It brings it back. And if I leave time to month, it's going to actually have it hidden for us. This is exactly the kind of effect you should actually create to make this look much more fancy. Is it fancy or interactive? Let me use that word, interactive. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is to make sure, let me bring this on. So let us make sure we click over on this, and the category label should be turned off. Over here, we turn off the category label as well. So we need to create some kind of a custom title or label for it. So we go over to here. Let's have this closed. So I'm going to do right click and create new measure. This is something very simple, So we just need to do closing time equals if, okay, instead of that, I'll paste this one I've copied in. I'm going to take off all of this from here. Right, let me take everything away from here. So what we have done now, we just say if selected value. So selected value now would go into this particular table. Once it gets here, it will search for this particular column and look at it. If the column contains 1, then what do we want? We want to return closing time. So otherwise, now do nothing. So this is what it is that we want. I'm going to copy this, then hit my enter key. I have just created my title. So for that, if you look at it now, we have an error. The error just comes, what the heck is this? Oh, now I remembered. That was because we are using the same name that had been existing before. So I'm just going to call this one title. So you see that? Very simple. You solve the problem now. So we have gotten this one created. We actually add a new measure. So on this new measure, we just paste in what we've copied from here. This time around, we are going to create for opening. So title here should be opening. Then what we do here is just turn this one to opening time. That is all. You have just created something very much more interesting to look at. So when the month is on, everything got turned out. So we need to bring it over here. So title. So for the title, we are going to turn off, let me bring in the second one. So we'll bring this one as well. So we have both the opening and the closing one. So we go over to this particular part and turn off the category label. And we do the same thing for this particular one as well. So watch what happens when, if I turn this month, now everything gets disappeared. So when I bring in time, we actually have it. So we have to do the arrangement to make sure it fits into here. And that is exactly what we want. To make it snappy, I have created something like this. So what I've just done is to actually arrange those particular measures I've created, the opening and the closing time. We have it right here. Then our chart is still here and we have this right here. Okay, right now, what we need to create is to identify the busiest time among all of this time right here. And we're going to create the same thing that we have done here just to make sure when the time is not what is in view, we want to have everything disappeared, right? Let's do that very importantly. Okay, now I'm going to right click and actually add a new measure. This one will actually look a little bit, advanced, but if you pay very good attention, it's something very basic. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to just say highlight traffic time in our salon. Okay, to highlight the traffic time in our salon, what I need to do is to create a variable here, and I'm going to use underscore to say time. So variable time, and I'm going to use equals here. So under variable time, what I want to store in here right now is to retrieve the time with the highest revenue. We want to look at the highest, as in the time that has the highest revenue among all the time we have in our transactional data. So to do that now, I'm going to use the top n. So my equals is missing here. So I will do top. So top n helps us to retrieve whatever is the highest. So I'm going to be looking for my top one. And over here, I would use the all function to remove filter so that we can actually compare one value to another and retrieve the highest one. That is the definition of what I can give to you. So I'm going to use time here, and that will be this very one. Then I close it, comma, I would say I want it to be some kind of descending. That is the order, right? Oh, sorry, if I put comma, okay, not there yet. So we want to order by. This order by should be by revenue. So we bring in our revenue. So we have the revenue already created for us. Now, if I hit my comma, is how we want to order it. So descending, which is from the highest value. Then I go ahead and have this closed. You get it right now. So if I have done this, this should actually return for me what I want. So let us try and look at what the result of this one will be. So under return, we return our time. And if I hit my enter key, what are you actually expecting. So we're going to bring this into a card and let us look at what it is that we're going to have. So on a card, we have something like this, right? So let's go ahead and change this into a short time. So it's giving us 5 p.m. Let us verify if that is true. If the highest point is this particular part right here, which is absolutely correct, right? But what happens if I select like shave here? Okay, that is nice. Good, correct. So very interesting. So you can select any of this here. So what happened here? We have an error. Does that mean what we have done is wrong? No, that is not the case. So if I click over this particular C detail here, it's going to help us to tell us what the error is all about. So can't load the data for this visual. So it says start from here, this particular part here, ignore these ones and start from here. A table of multiple values was supplied when a single value was expected. Okay, now that means we have some kind of a particular time where we have the same revenue generated. So for that, it's retrieving multiple time for us right now. So how do we fix this? Let us go ahead and do it. So we're going to leave it at Sunday and we'll still have this error. Then we'll click back over here. We go back to our code here. Now that we are here, to solve this, I'm going to wipe off this one. I will create a new variable. So with this new variable here, it will be called underscore results. Underscore results, then equals here. So with the equals now, I want to use concatenate X. So for the concatenate X, if we have more than one time to concatenate the time, like 5 p.m., 9 a.m., we'll bring them together, right? So I will bring in here the variable. Don't forget underscore time is the variable that's turned in the top one from here. But right now, because it's not returning just to one time, we want to concatenate it. So what I'll do now is to hit my comma, and over here, what do we want to concatenate? We bring in the column right here. So time, which is this one, then comma, we need the delimiter, right? So inside double quotes, we type in the delimiter. Let us use this here for our and once we have done that, we put under comma here. So time again, so bring in the time in, and this time around we have a comma here. We just sort this by what? By descending like this. So let's go ahead and drop this down. Something like this would be cool. Then once we have done that, we can just go ahead and have this closed. So this time around we should be good with this. So what else do we need to do? Let's go ahead and return this. So return, we are returning the results instead of the time. So if I hit my enter, it should actually have this solved for me. Let us go ahead and take a look at what we have now. Okay. Now, as you can see, if I stretch it, so we have two time returns. So we have 6:30 p.m. and we have 5:15 p.m. So between 6:30 to 5:15 p.m., that is the most traffic time we have on our Salon. You get it now? That is it. Okay, this is not what we just want to return. So we have to return back to this particular part here now. And under the results here, so it's cool. I will definitely go down and say, you know what? If selected, so if selected value here, that is gonna be order parameter is equals to 1. That is when I need you to show the time for me, but not just the time. We want to actually add some text. So comma, I'll come down here and I'll say inside double quotes, I would like, okay, the Salon gets busier. I think it's like this. Around, we close this ampersand here, then we do, this is time. If I just go ahead and do around, and I will just underscore results here, let's see what we're going to find. So now, otherwise, what we want is just for you to return blank for us. Don't forget about that particular part. So go ahead and hit your enter key, and let's see what the result would be by now. Okay, we're gonna make it smaller so that we can see what we have. So let's just put it at 20. Okay, 20 looks great. Okay, I think this looked cool. So we don't need any extra code to get it done. It's cool, it's okay. So what happens if I release this? So we're gonna have just one time. So the salon gets busier around 5 p.m. 00. So if what we want is to disallow this particular 00 right here, we can actually fix that with just a simple line of, code. So we have to just go ahead and turn off this very one from here. We don't need to have the category label. Then we just make it something like this, and we put it somewhere around here. So let's go over to this size and style. Then when we go down now, we're going to turn off the background we have for it. So we just keep this one around here. So for the time being, this is going to be here. So for this one, we're just going to make sure it's smaller. So we're going to need it later. Let's keep it around here. And this one should be moved somewhere around here. So what is left right now is just for we to get a dynamic title for our project, or our chart rather, right in here. So for the dynamic title is not something very much complicated, and I believe it's something you can just decide to pause this right now and create it all by yourself 100%. So you should be able to do it. So let's get into it. I will do right click here, and I'll just create a new measure. I'll just put title alone. So this title now should be using the if again selected value here. So it will be order close. If it is equal to 1, then what we want to show is actually going to be revenue by month. Or we can just say monthly revenue trend. Otherwise, we show revenue by month, by time trend. That is all. We have gotten our title created. Let's just go ahead and take a look at what this would look like in a real sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this one in here and drag it up to this particular part, then go over here and just make a change of this one to the title we've created. And this one gives us revenue by what? By monthly revenue trend. So monthly revenue trend, we are going to go back and just make a little change. Instead of we using 1 here, we can now use 0 over here for we to just get it done, right? So it would now give us the right one here. So we are selecting time, so revenue by time trend. If I select this now, we have something like this. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to tell you firsthand that we have gotten this one created 100%. So let us move to the next one. This very chart here looks beautiful and cool, but it's some kind of basic. What if we transform it from what it is right now to something different? And number one, if you look at the x-axis here, it's showing Monday, Tuesday, Friday down to Wednesday, which is not really cool. So we have to verify if our table is sorted. So go over to this particular part right here. Make sure you hover over this and you sort it by the week number, because we already have a week number right in here. So once you have the weekday highlighted, go over to this particular sort by and let's check. Already it has been sorted. So I don't know what the problem is. Let's go back and verify it. So I have clicked it again. So we go back here. Okay, it's still like this. So what we need to do right now is to delete this chart and change it from this particular kind of chart, which is this tagged column chart, to this particular one, which is closed start bar chart. So I will have it deleted and click on this particular one here. Then drag this right here and bring in our weekdays. So there is nothing showing up right now. Don't worry. So let's go ahead and bring the measure. The measure should actually be total revenue. So we go ahead and bring in our total revenue here. So nicely done. So from Sunday to Saturday, which is cool. So nicely sorted. So we have something like this. So if you look at it, the axis here looks pretty nice. It is at its right spot, but we want to change it to be at the top. So before we do that, let us go ahead and click on this particular format. Then go to our x-axis here and scroll all the way down until you have this one turned off, and as well this one. Then if we go back to the x-axis right now, we can actually click on the y-axis, then scroll all the way down and we'll turn off the title for it. So later, after all, we're going to turn off this one, but for the time being, let us go with what we have right now. So I'm going to just go ahead and turn off the title. So we have something as plain as this. So let us move this up to create more room. Move this away from here to create more room. Then we can have more room to get this done. Okay, the very first thing we are going to do right now is to create what I call blank measure. So I want to create a blank measure. So I don't want to some kind of have lots of measures here. So what I'm going to do now is go over to this particular modeling here. Then I will click over all the measures I want to group, because I have to group them. So this closing time, hold your control key, this particular one, include it, include the opening, include the title, include this particular one, and include this one. So what I'm going to do now is to come over to display folder here and call it line charts. Measures. So we have just grouped this in a different folder. So if we go back to this particular part right now, you can now see that here is clean. So when you need something, you come over here, you pick it up. If you need from here, you click over here and you pick it up from here. So this time around, we are going to start to create new measures, which we can actually later group into a different folder. So right click over here and go over to new measure. So I just told you about creating a blank measure, right? That can actually help us to get what we want to do right here done with ease. So I'm going to do blank measure. So blank measure, so equals 0. Hit your enter key. Okay, we have our blank measure right here, right now. What else do? We are going to bring the blank measure in this chart. So what I'll do now is to bring in the blank measure just like this. So the blank measure is at the wrong place. So we are bringing the blank measure from X to Y axis. So we can move this until you have this color, then you release. So if it doesn't work that way, just go ahead and remove it from here. Click on add data and go to this particular calculations and click over the blank measure. So the blank measure should be here. By now, I'm trying to look at what the problem might be. Why is it not coming in? Okay, let us click over here now we have the blank measure. Oh, sorry. The blank measure is at the right spot. We ought to have it at the x-axis, which is pretty nice. So please pardon me for bringing it up here. So we have our blank measure here right now. So this will definitely support what we want to do. So now there is no use for what we have done until we create one other measure which would support what we want to do. So I'll quickly add a new measure here. So this measure, we are going to call it active weekday. So let's name it to active weekdays. So equals selected value, and we select our weekday. The weekday coming from our date table, just like this. Then I hit my enter key. So we have just created the same thing we have right here, right now. So it is time for we to push it in. So how do we go about that? That is where we actually need to use here. So for that, let us go over to where can we start off from? I'm going to scroll down. When we scroll down, you see data label right here. I am going to turn on my data label. So we have something like this. So when I turn on my data label, it shows this. So what I want now is that I want my blank measure to be at the top. So we are going to click on this and move it until you have this particular green color, then you release. So now it's at the top. Don't worry about the color we have right now. It doesn't really matter. So once we have something like this, then we are going to open our data label right on. So once we turn it on, we can go over here and select the blank measure and replace that with the all. So that is good. So once we have done that, we can just go down and we have the value here. If I turn off the value, you can see the value is gone away from here. So I want to turn on the value, something like this. So go to the value, open it up, and here you have the blank measure. Click on it and go and replace the blank measure with active weekday. So now you have the active weekdays that is equals to Sunday, Monday that we have right here. It matches exactly the way it should be. So once we have done this, let's go back to the top and turn off what? Turn off the y-axis. Y-axis value. So now this is what we have. It is not yet finished. We're just beginning to get it done. But now we have something that we can hold on to because it is working for us. Let us increase this a little bit. Okay, nicely done. So the next thing now is to create the week over week change, which we are going to use to actually get this done. So how do we get that done? First of all, we have to create a measure, and this measure is called what? This measure would be called previous week. So there is nothing like that, no time intelligence that can help us do that, but we'll have to trick a system to allow us to create something like that. Okay, let us name this one previous week. So for the previous week, I can put revenue by revenue, previous week revenue. So equals. So for the previous week right now, the very first thing I'm going to do is for me to actually highlight my current weekday. So previous weekday, I will do variable. So here is going to be underscore current weekday. So equals here. And over here, I will use selected value. So inside selected value, I will store in my weekdays, then have this closed, shift down, we are down now. So now this one will be under variable, and this variable will be for our previous weekdays. So for the previous weekdays, or let's just use weekday, what I will do now, I'm going to actually use the switch function to perform the magic right here. So let us say switch So what the switch will be doing now, the switch will switch the current, which is underscore current weekday. So it will go into the current weekday and find Monday, Tuesday down to the last day of the week, which is Sunday or the beginning of the week, right? So you need to know the kind of format you have before you have this done. So what I'll do now is to actually pause this. To pause it now, I'm going to highlight this area, Control and the slash here. I'll hit my enter without encountering any error. I'll go and verify what kind of weekday do I have before we come back right here. So let's go over to the table view. From there, we can click over to the date table. And to verify that, this is the column. The column contains this particular short format of the weekdays. That is beautiful. Now that we have known, let's go back over here. So we can resume this. To have this resumed, highlight it again, Control the slash, and we have it back. So the switch is going to switch between this. First of all, I'll have Monday. So when I have Monday, I want to see Sunday. Then I'll put in Sunday. It's not case sensitive, so you just have to get used to it. Then here, if it is Tuesday inside this, so if it is Tuesday, then we want to see what? We want to see Monday. We want to see Monday, comma. So if it is Wednesday now, make sure you place it inside double quotes and make sure the spellings are correct. So if it is Wednesday, what we see now, we should see Tuesday. The next one now should be Thursday. So Thursday should give us what? Should give us Wednesday. Then next again should be Friday, like this. So Wednesday is Friday, we are going to switch to Thursday right here. So be very consistent with what you have, otherwise you're going to have some errors. So next again, after Friday, we have Saturday. Then now we should be expecting the same Friday here. So finally, I think we have Sunday. So right here, we should have what? We should have Saturday here, and we close. This is all we have to create. We go ahead and close this. So we can't return this yet because it's going to return some kind of weird result. So we go under the return. So return here. So under return, this is where we have to make the magic happen. So we're going to use the calculate function to change the filter context we have. Now to change this filter context, the expression should be total revenue. This can be anything you want to actually use. I am using revenue. You can use transaction, you can use profit, depends on the kind of data that you have. But right here, we use revenue. So we're calculating revenue. So with that, we are going to say if this particular weekday here, this weekday is coming from our date table, is actually equals to the previous underscore previous weekday, that is when we want to calculate. You get it right now. So if this weekday here is equal to this, that is when we want to calculate. So now we are going to actually say comma, and it says filter. So this filter now, if we don't do it this way, it will return for us, but it will not return for the whole week. You get it? So what I'm going to do is to just say, okay, now using the all function, I would remove filter from my date table right here so that I can have everything I want. Then I'm going to go ahead and have this closed. You get it? So finally, we close our calculate function. We hit the enter key. So let us go ahead and take a look at what result we're going to see doing this alone without moving it in here right now. So we want to see the result. So to see the result, we have to actually make sure we bring this previous week in a card. So the previous week is returning blank right now. Why? Does it mean what we have done is just a waste of time? No, it can be. Okay, let us select a table. So with the table, still nothing happened. Don't be panic. Let's go over to our date table right now and bring in the weekdays in here. So now we have it. So we have to return this to a table. I want us to see it on a table format. I think this will not be a nice place to show this, right? So let us open a new page. Over here in this new page, I'll first of all bring in my weekday. So I have my weekdays here. I want to actually, do something like this. Let us put it at 20. So this is nice. We have it at 20 right in here. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to double it by copying and paste it, right? So just do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to paste a new one and have this right here. So I'll come over here. I'll put my previous week on this one. I'll come over here. I will bring in my total revenue on this very one here. So remember, there is some kind of formatting on this one. So let us just do a basic format that can actually help us to look at what we have. Just use the comma separator instead. So we can go back. So let us look at what we have here. This is actually Sunday. This is Sunday, right? So this one here is actually 1151, which is Monday. This one is 1045,500. So what is different here? Now, this Monday in here is correct. It's looking at Monday. But when we are in Monday, what I said was, when we are in Monday, we should return something from the previous day before Monday. What is the previous day before Monday? The previous day before Monday is actually Sunday. Now we are retrieving this particular 1045,500 on Monday. And when we are in Tuesday, we should return something from Monday. So if you look at it right now, we are returning something from here, and that's exactly what it has created. In case you don't understand what I've done right here, don't worry. If you just create it, take a look at it and study it very well, you would definitely actually understand everything. It's very simple and easy. All right. Okay. Let's go to the next level. Where do we use this? We are not actually going to use something like this. This is too raw. So what we need to do instead is for we to actually create a percentage that we can actually use to get this done. So we want to create percentage change week over week, just like we have month over month change and year over year change. So that is exactly what we're trying to create. Okay, which means we're going to add a new measure. On this new measure here, we are going to call this measure week over week change. That should be the name of the measure. So week over week change. So equals. So for the week over week change is very simple. We create a variable here and we put underscore. We do active week. So for the active week, we try to use selected value here to get in the weekday. Then we'll close it. Now move down again and create another variable. This variable should actually be the current week revenue. So for the current week revenue right now, it should be the holistic total revenue right here without any filter context. So now we create another variable. This another variable here. This variable should be previous week revenue. So that's going to be equals. So we store in that particular previous week revenue in here. So we are done with this. So we create another variable right now. That is going to be the variable underscore results. So the result we want to retrieve. So for this result now, we want to actually check if the active week is not blank. first before we do this. So using if, we're going to bring active week here. So if active week is not blank, this particular less than and greater than means something like this, not. So, but not as a function, just not as an English word. So if it is not blank, then we want to perform something. What do we want to perform? So we want to use the divide function to find the percentage. So divide the current underscore current. So current is a variable we just created. So divide the current, and we're going to say current minus the previous underscore previous first. So this can be stored in a variable before we even do our division, but we can combine it right here. So once we have done this now, which means this particular part here. So what part it is? It should be the first thing we should do. You can place it inside a different variable and reuse it over here. But now we don't need to do that. So the part is actually the numerator. Then once that is done, we can put comma for the alternate result. If there is a division by 0, we want to handle the error. So we do this, we go ahead and have this closed. So because we used if I put my comma here, it's now asking for if the result is false. We want to see blank. That is what we can actually provide for it. Then we'll go ahead and have this closed. Okay, now we have done this. Let us go ahead and take a look at what are we going to see. So we can just say return. So return, and the return would definitely give us user results. So if I hit my enter key, we want to see what this would look like. I would like to drag it into this particular part here. So week over week change. Okay, we have something like this. We can see the positive and the negative week over week is not really formatted as a percentage. And because if I click over here and want to use normal percentage number formatting, will it work? Let's try it. Okay, it does work, but we can as well try to use format to get it done, but this one works perfectly. So there is no need for we to actually do some kind of that code to get it done again. This is what we have, but we don't want to retrieve these decimal places. So what we can do now is to go over to the week over week change here and put 0 here instead of 2. We have 0 in there, and we hit the enter key. That would definitely remove all the decimal places for us. So now we have this. So if you look at this now, it's saying here the changes between Sunday. So Sunday retrieve value of what? It's retrieving value of Saturday. So the change between Sunday and Saturday is actually 3 points. So that is actually an increase. So it's an increase. So the reason why I would not use this kind of formatting I've done right here, it looks perfectly okay though, but I want to have plus at where we have positive value and minus at negative value. We already have the minus. So what about the plus? So let's go back over here. So under the return right now, we are going to use an if condition to condition what we want. So using if here to say if this particular one is greater than 0, then what do you want? You want to actually add this particular plus and close it. Then we concatenate this and we format it as well. So the formatting should now be, your results should be formatted. So how do you want to format it? Into a percentage, right? Without decimal places or with just one decimal place. So we do 0.0% if you want one decimal place. Something like this will be cool for it. Let us use one decimal place. So once we are done, we close this back and we have this particular one closed. So we put a comma. So if the result is false, so we're going to do format again. So this time around, we don't need to actually provide minus because automatically for negative value, we always have minus on it. So for that, we just go ahead and format this one, comma 0.0%, and go ahead and close this. Finally, we close for our if. I think that's all. So if I hit my enter key right now, we should see the result should be with 1 decimal and we have plus on the positive area. So can you see what we have right now? This looks much more better than what we have before. So now it's showing where we have growth and where we actually perform very low. So this is what it is. Let's go back here right now and integrate this with our chart to add more context. So we are right here on our chart area. We can go over here and scroll all the way down, click on data labels and scroll down to the value area. So make sure you have active weekday selected. And once you scroll down here, active weekday selected under value. What else? What else? I think here we go. We should be looking for detail. Okay, we have the detail here. So turn on the detail here. Then open the detail. Nothing is here. We click on it. So we go over to calculations and we select the week over week change over here. So now we have it as a percentage. Right? So we have it as a percentage, which is really some kind of great. So we might want to actually have it bolder than the other ones. So we can change the font type we have right here to something bold. Let's go with something like this. Oh, no. The bolder one. This should be the bolder version of it. Something like this would be cool. So we can increase it by 1. That shows very well for us. This is great. Very great. Very, very great. But not so great to an extent. So what do we do right again? So the first thing we're going to do is to actually make sure we are showing percentage or the percentage with colors that add another context. The context here now looks perfect, right? But it's not something that you can just say, I'm going to leave it this way. If you have alternative to make it better, please do. So how do we make it better now? So we want to use color to identify where we have positive and negative value. That is very important. So let's go over to where we are writing our measures. Right here, I'm going to right click and create a new measure. Very simple, just one line of code. It's not really complicated. Okay, we are here. I'll name this one CF, conditional formatting. So I can specify weekday for it. So with my equals here, I would use if. Let's say if what? If week over week change here is less than 0, then we want to see red. Let's see. I think this should be red. Otherwise, give us green. So we should place it inside here. So we can really change this when we don't have what we want. So this color will be changed later after all because we are not yet ready to change the color of the whole dashboard right now. So I hit my enter key. The next thing is for we to use this particular, CF, which is conditional formatting here to actually format what we have in here. Let's go over to here. So we are right here now under the detail. So instead of us to use this color, remember we can change the color to any color we like right here. But right now we want to some kind of go to FX. From FX, we move it from gradient to feed value. So we click over here, just search for CF, and we select this very one here. So it's not showing up. What could be the problem? Why is it not showing up here? I'm thinking, what is the reason we're not seeing anything in here? There should be a problem somewhere. The problem somewhere. CF conditional formatting. Oh, can you think about that? Okay, let us find out here. We can find out here. Let us apply the same thing over here. But we are going to, let's apply something. Am I sure of this? On the table format, we have to go to element, cell element. Let's try cell element here. So we actually go for this particular font. And over here, we do this. We select CF and we choose this. And this one disappeared. Oh no, this is crazy. Okay, if you are panicked already, I'm going to tell you, don't get panicked anymore, because the problem is very simple, just something very simple. You don't have to write extra code to get it solved, but you just need to copy a particular code from somewhere, paste it over here, and your problem is solved. Let me tell you what the problem is right now. If you look at this, this is not more some kind of normal values. This is now a text that appeared in number because we have added plus to it. So we can't call this some kind of normal percentage. So it is now a text. To actually control this now, what we can do is for we to do something different. So what I'm going to do right now, let's go over to this particular part. So weekday, week over week change here. So under the week over week change, let us copy, excluding this week over week change here. We are going to copy this part, this very part. Very importantly, exclude the return part so we can't proceed to copy it. Now we now go over to our conditional formatting here. Then once we are here, we can now place our cursor here, shift and drop this down. Then we bring this over here. We paste this in. So there will be no error. The only error we see is on this one, which is not a big problem. So we do return over here. So once we do return, instead of us to be referencing this particular week over week change here, so what we need to reference now is to get this one off. So reference the results, right? So hit the enter key. Now let us go ahead and try this and see if it would work or not. This should be the solution. If it doesn't work, that means you flopped. So I'm going to try it on my chart over here. Oh, that reminds me. I must have seen that you have not actually liked the video yet or subscribed to my channel. Comment is very important. Let me know what you feel about this video. Okay, now we are here. We are going to go down straight up to the detail part here. So not any of this color. We are not defaulting to any of this particular color. Let us change it to a white color right now. So this is what we see, right? So if I go to the FX here, I can now go over here 100% with confidence. I'm sure it's going to work. FCF. Okay, I'm a bit scared. Let's try it. Oh no, it does work. If this is active, then it would work. Now it's working. Is actually working. So because of the kind of background we have right here, we would not be able to see it very well. So let's go over to this particular focus mode and see what it is that we have. Can you see it right now? So for Sunday is down. Sunday compared to Saturday is down by 17%. So Monday compared to Sunday is actually up by 93%. And Tuesday compared to Monday is actually down again by this particular percentage. So how would you know if this is going up and down? If the weekday is not really good, you are going to know based on this particular value right here. You can see on Saturday, we actually have 231,000, right? So on Sunday, we made 190, which is lower than this particular one. So it's down by 17%. So between this particular Monday and Sunday here, so this is 190, this is 368, which is 93% growth. So what about this? This is very nice, right? So we have just spent some time getting this created and it has worked for us. This is what you need to do. We have transformed this basic chart we have here the other time into something like this. So what do you think? So we have some legends here. We have to go ahead and turn off those particular legends because we do not need to keep them. For legends, we turn the legend off. Next is this particular chart here. So this chart is not looking that good yet. So first of all, I'm going to open up here and you see we're looking at transaction. We want to be consistent. So what we are dealing with is total revenue. So let's go ahead and change this one from transaction to revenue. That is done. So if you look at this particular part here, it's not reflecting what we have in here. So we have to go to the title, and over here you click on the title here. So we change what we have inside here to this particular one, revenue by WeekType. That is great. So next is this particular part here. If you look at it, we are showing WeekType again, repeating it over and over. So we just go over to this particular part where we have the legend right in and we turn off the title. So this will definitely make it more cleaner, just like what you have right now. This is better. So we are going to keep something like this for the time being. So later, after all, we can actually adjust. So this is what it is. Next is this particular slicer we have right here. So if I stretch it now, you can see we are using the basic slicer. Or should I call it basic? The previous, let me use the word previous, it's not basic. The previous slicer we have in Power BI. So we can actually use it to filter our data. It's not really bad. But because we are looking for something very fancy and much more cool to show our dashboard to look very professional, we need to change it to the newer version, right? So what I'm going to do now is to go over to this particular part here and scroll down until I find the new version of Slicer, which is this very one right here. Now we have this. So what is actually next when we have something like this? We need to actually, format this, right? The first thing is to turn off the title. So this is not really cool yet. So let's go over to the layout. On the layout, we are here. We are going to use the grid here, which is nice. Card is nice. So instead of we having 3 here, let's have something like 6. Does it really matter? It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, over to the column part here, we turn it to just one single column. Now, this worked. This is what we want. On this particular spacing or between buttons here, why don't we use something different? What if we go with 4? 4 will be nice, and that works. So if you look at it, it has actually changed what we have here. So now if I select this particular Chinedu Okeke or Emeka Nwankwo here, that actually would update for me. So, and it's showing me that this is selected and it's giving me white. That is because of the kind of background I have right here. Next again, right now is to get the image. Next is to get in our image here. So if we go over to table view, we can go to this particular table. You can find this URL right in here. So let's go over to the report view. Click on this and make sure it's actually selected. Then let's go over to where we have our image right in. So we go over to this particular images, scroll down. Now we select default and we bring in image, just normal image. If I click on it now, we can get the URL, right? So the state should be on default. Don't change it to any of this one. Even if we would have to change this, not now. So click over here to the fields and go over here and select images here. Then we have the images right in here. But it's not really some kind of cool yet. So what do we do? So we are using this particular part. If I scroll down, images, open it up, open the images up, scroll a bit down. Now it says default. So if I open up these images here and we scroll all the way down, so we have the first image showed up right here and we have fill under fit. Let's go ahead and choose normal. So this is how normal would definitely look like. So next is for we to some kind of go down a little bit, and we have the position here. So we change the position to the left-hand corner like this. So this is where the position is. So now we can just go ahead and stretch this like this. Okay, we have this, right? But this is not looking very pretty. It's some kind of a bit weird. What we have to do is to reduce something. So let's some kind of work with the space between image here. So if okay, I think the space between image is fine. Let us change this particular image size to 40. So 40 looks good. Then we can have the space and get this one a little bit adjusted to look like this. Okay, nicely done. This is cool. Okay, if you look at it now, it's not really bad, but we just need to make sure we are creative with what we are doing. So go ahead and select back this one again. Doesn't really matter if you actually, select any of the people. So let's go over to shape, and we change the shape from rectangle to rounded corner. So this is pretty too much. We can actually play around with what we have here. Something like this takes it off, right? But if we just do something like this, we have some kind of a bit rounded corner. So we can just add more to it. So add a little bit more to it again, add a bit. So I think I'm going to be cool with something like this. So for the time being, I am going to stick to this. So there is one thing we have to bring in here right now. So we want to rank all of those people right here, which one of them has the highest revenue. So we rank it number 1, 2, down to the last number. So this ranking should be dynamic, right? So how do we create the ranking? So which means we have to write a measure to get that done. So before we do that, go over here and actually group all of the measures you have written previously into one single, folder. So hold your shift key to multi-select like this. Okay, you can select individually if it's not working. So close this one to make sure you don't include it. So here we go. Now we turn this to be Weekdays measures like this. So we have all those measures placed in one place. If we go back right now, this place would look very clean. Can you see it? It looks clean. Now, not too much measures here. When you need a measure, you open up, you get it. That is all you need to do. So we are going to create a new one. Before we do that, I would like to show you on a table format what we're going to have. Let's say we take this one for an instance. I would get off what I have here, which is this particular weekday. Away from here, I am going to go to a new table, which is this particular Baba's table here, and we bring in the name. So now we have the names here. Let's stretch that. So this one is not really important. We can get it deleted here. We go. So like this here. So we have to rank them. To create the ranking is something very simple that anyone can do. So let's go over to new measure. So a new measure, we just call this one ranking. I will put it. So here is equals. So to rank right now, what do we use? That is what you need to know. What kind of function will do that for you? Can somebody just think of what could be used to get this ranking done? So what do you think will do this? So think and let me know in the comment section what you thought before I start to create this. So you should have actually, thought about it first. So let's do it. So to rank now, we use rank X. So rank X. So with the rank X right now, we use the all function to remove filter so that we can compare them together and rank it. So that is something you need to know. So we rank by the name we have inside our table, which is this very one here. And once we have done this, we close and hit our comma. It's asking us for the expression. Always remember, when you hear the word expression or when you see the word expression is actually talking about values like measures. So that will be our revenue here. Then how do you want to rank this? So for the value, we skip it using under comma again. Now to rank this now, we rank it descending, which is from the highest value. Then we'll go ahead and close and hit the enter key. This has actually created our ranking for us. So let us go ahead and actually drag the ranking into here. So is this ranked? Forget about this particular total here. It's not going to reflect. So even if we have one here, it doesn't really matter. So this is ranked. I would go over to here and click on sort now, sort by this ranking. So you can see this person has the highest revenue, followed by this person, this, and this is the last person right here. So we have gotten this done. So what we need to do next now is to actually create that measure that would support what we want to show. So over here, right click and create a new measure. Inside here, ranking number. So we do this. To connect it, we use the ampersand, and we bring in our, I think is this. So just go ahead and hit the enter key. So this is all you need to do. So once we have done this, we have to return back to here. So we're here, we click on this one here. Then we can go over to the format. So from the format, we are going to, I think that should be under images, right? Under images. Was it under images? Not under images. Let's go to callout value. Callout value, can turn this off. Yeah. So under the callout value here, when we scroll down now, we should see the label. Nothing is showing up. So let's go over here and select this. So we go over to this and we select this rank. That is it. So we have shown it. Can you see it now? Under the label, it has shown this. But when we are here, we can't see it very well. So what we can do now is to change the color. So we go over here. We change its color to what can show up. Let's go with this one. Oh, that color will be given to everyone. So what we can do is just do some kind of, leave it at default color. So default color should be something like this one here. That shows for everyone. Then when we want to show for the selected one, the white one is for the selected one, we go over to the top, and over here is giving us default. So we go to selected. So once we get to selected, we scroll all the way down. So until we get to label and we get here. For the selected, we want to change the color to actually match what we want. Let's go with something like this. So can you see? It's different. So if I select this particular one now, so the selection will actually show this ranking number 2. So this is what you need for the first time to get this created. So the next thing right now is that whichever one is not selected, we want to actually put that on blur and as well black and white. So how do we create such effect right on this? Very important, right? I can just expand this for the time being so that we can see what we're doing very well. So now everything shows up very well. So let's go over to our images here. Then scroll all the way down. So at default right now, if you look at it, I have the blur here. If I do this now, everything gets blur. I only want to blur those ones that are not selected. So what I'm going to do now is to go over to here. And first of all, click on my selected. Then I'll go all the way down. I am going to blur my selected like this. It has been blurred. I will return it back. So once I have done this, I can now go over to this particular part and say default. So when you say default, you go all the way down, go to your blur. Now you can adjust the blur. It will only affect the unselected one. The selected one will not be included. Let's select this one and take a look at that. Can you see? So you can maintain how much blur you want to have as much as possible. So we can reduce it a little bit, right? So the saturation here can be reduced. So if you look at it, the saturation would affect everyone, which including the selected one. So what you need to do is to actually return it all the way back, then go back to this particular part here, click on this and click on selected, then go over here, apply saturation to it. So once you have done that, remove the saturation, then we go all the way back again and we return this back to default. Then we can now apply the saturation to the unselected one like this. This will give you some kind of this kind of effect right here. So if you are cool with what you have, so be it. You can actually go ahead and actually return it back to the original position. Something that looks like this. So this is what it is. So whenever I make a selection here, I should have something that look like this. So the remaining one we look blur, we can understand them by their names and their ranking. Then this is exactly what you can do. So we're not yet up for the colors, but for now we have gotten something much more functional and looking much more beautiful than what we have met here. So let's see what is next. What if I tell you that we don't need to use different cards to get this done again? We can use one single card to have it done. This is the old version of the cards we have right here. It is okay when you want to show one item. So when you want to show items that are related to each other, you can actually use Power BI new card. So which would make us to get this one away, click on this one and have it deleted as well. Then this one right here, we are going to keep it, but we can create it together. Let me just have this one as well deleted for the time being. Then for this very one here, I can just make it as small as I want and keep it somewhere around here. Later after all, we come back to it. Okay, right now what we are going to do is to go all the way here and let's just locate this particular new card here. So we have our new card. I can stretch the new card over here, right? So once we have the new card here, the next thing we have to do is to go over here and select the measures we want to use. The first measure should be our transaction and the second measure should be the revenue over here. So we have those two here. So what is next? So if you look at it right now, it has background on it, but it's not really showing up right now. So the next thing is for we to look at what we have as what? As the target for both of them. Let us go to the table view. Under the table view, we actually have this particular target here. So the target we have here is customer target, which means how many customers are expected to be achieved by this particular person here and how much revenue is actually expected out of him. Okay, so once we have understood that, we are good to go. Now, because we are not going to actually work on the, what do I call it? We don't need to create some kind of complex measures using the target. So we can use the target like this without creating a measure. We use the implicit measure, not creating any explicit measure, right? So what we can do right now, we can just drag them in. Otherwise, to create something like this for us. So we can just get this one off. Then to get the target in here now, I'm going to go over to this particular part where it says reference label and scroll all the way down and select, make sure this one is selected. Then click over here and we go to target. So we bring in the target for customer into transaction. So transaction simply means the numbers of customers every single, persons had attended to, right? So one record in our transaction table is actually for one particular customer. It doesn't really matter if the customer comes back over and over again. So the next one now is to click over here and change this one from this one here to revenue. So once we have done that, we actually go ahead and go to target. We bring target that belongs to revenue in here. Nicely done, right? So I can return this one back to all now. So once I have it returned back to all, let's go over here and open up this particular place. Oh no, I think we could do this. Let's see. Yes, we can. Let's go down a bit. Oh, we couldn't find the feature I'm looking forward to seeing. Okay, let us have it done individually. First of all, we attend to transaction. And under transaction, we have this selected label. All. Now we select this. So once we have this now, we say sum. It's giving us this sum. So what I'm going to do is to make sure I select this particular one. Yes, it's selected. From here, I'll choose the custom. Then from custom, I will just go ahead and remove all of this from here, and I will have the target. So once I've done that, I can scroll the way down under the value here, and I will scroll all the way down again. I am going to choose to see this none. So I want to have the whole value, right? So once we have done that, we scroll all the way back up until we find this one, and we change it to revenue. And the same thing we have done is what we're going to do to revenue. So we have to, first of all, come over here and change this to this one. Then over here, we go to custom. We change it to custom. And once we have done that, we scroll all the way down. We remove this particular part. And what we have left is the target. So we have target. Then we have to scroll it all the way down until we have this value here. And we scroll all the way down to just say we don't want to be on auto. We want to see it on none. This is what we have. This is our first step to have something we want created like this. So we did everything under reference label. So you have to take note of that. You need to have it done under reference label. So let's go with the revenue. So we have to write a measure for our revenue. So over here, we can create a new measure. So this measure should be called revenue variance. So over here, we just say variance should be revenue. So we subtract it from our target. So for that, because we have not created measure for the target, so we need to do sum over here. And sum would be target. Then that should be for revenue. Then we close and hit the enter key. So I would have to be consistent with my formatting. So for that, I'm going to choose this style of format. So I'm going with this particular Nigerian naira. So it's your choice. You can change it to any currency number formatting you like. So that is what I want to use. So once I have done this now, what is left is for me to create its percentage. To have the percentage created is something very simple that anyone can do with ease. So I'll just create revenue percentage variance. So equals here. So use the divide function. So divide. So what are we doing now? We are dividing our variance. So we divide our revenue variance by the total numbers of what? Of revenue. Then you can have an alternate result, 0. Then we'll go ahead and close this. This would definitely give us the percentage or variance, right? The variance in percentage. Go ahead and format it. All right, I have gotten this one created, which is the transaction variance created here. It's just this transaction subtracted from the target for customers, and you actually create the percentage, which is something similar to what we have done previously. So after we have done all of this, it is the right time to come back right here. So we go over to this particular reference again, and now we can start from revenue. When we start from revenue, we scroll and we click over here. We go over here, and the first thing we get is the variance followed by the percentage here, right? So once we have done this, we can actually go all the way down. So we make sure what we are selecting for the first time is actually going to be our revenue here. So once we have done that, we can select the custom, right? So for the custom, we have the selected. We take off the revenue from here. We only have the variance kept. So we select this one again. We go for this one. So we select the custom and we take off this particular part. So what we're going to have right now is a percentage. So we want to have a space. We put a space right for it. So we have something like this. So it's closer together. Don't worry. We'll fix that later. So once we are done with this, just scroll all the way down, all the way up rather, and select this particular transaction here. Okay. Looking at things now is cool, but one thing I don't like is actually when I have this value showing in K or in the shadow form. So we can actually make a change of what we have right here. So I'll do that later. So this is exactly what we actually want for the first time. So the next thing right now is that we need to create some kind of formatting, like conditional formatting for the variances we have right here. So we need to adjust this particular reference part. So adjustment needs to be done. Make sure you click on your card. Let's go over to here. When we scroll down, we should be seeing layout. If you cannot find layout, okay, there is layout here, but it's blur. It's not clickable. So what do we do? Let's scroll back up. Under this particular series, select series. So you click over there and change it to all. Let's go all the way down. Now we can find layout active. So under layout, we are seeing it based on rows. That is good. But this one here that says stance, we go ahead and click on it and we just say tabular. Something like this. This is what we want exactly. Something this way would look very nice. So once you have gotten this done, you can just do any adjustment you like. So over here, this particular value area should be at something like 60. Let us use 64. So I'll just put it on 64. Then this one here, you can just do anything you like with this position in here. So it's your choice. So I'm going to put it on this one so that it goes up a little bit like this for me. So this is what I want to do, very importantly. So you have this done. So what I'll do now is just for me to go over to my value, this value here. I will reduce the value. So if I'm reducing this value, it's affecting everything. It's affecting just only this. So I would want to increase this particular value like this. But let me put it on 12. 12 will be okay. This one here should be controlled. I think to control this one now is not under value. We can call it title. Can you see it? That is title. So we go over here and for the title, I think it's telling us to do it. Can we do something for the title? Let's see. Can we just go ahead and select something like normal one, like this? Okay, that is good. So I'm gonna go with something like this one here. Something like this. This one will look bold. This one shouldn't be equal to this one. This is what you need to create. So once we are done with this, for our budgets, we need to show something. The chart we met there should be what we use. We met this particular gauge chart here. Oh, sorry, I just flopped everything. So you have this one as your friend, undo. Go ahead and click it to bring it back. So make sure when clicking on a different chart, you shouldn't actually select any chart except you want to make changes. Now we select this particular gauge chart here. This is what we have. So for my revenue, I would go over here. I would select this revenue from here. Then once I have my revenue under the value area, so let's go back and go and pick the target for revenue from here. And this time around, if I just check this, it will give me something that I don't understand. So where is it putting it right in? It's giving it on the value area, which is under minimum. So we want it on the target area. So once we put it on the target area, it comes down here. So where make a lot of sense most is actually putting this on the maximum area, which is this particular part right here. Then we have this. So to see the changes now, if I click over here, so I'm looking for somebody who did not meet up with his or her. Okay. Right. Let's click over here. Okay, let's some kind of click on this one. So let us find out what is going on here. This is the revenue. Oh, sorry. I dropped in target here instead of revenue. So we are going to get it in here. Revenue target. This is better. So now we can now see. So if we select now, the remaining blank space shows you that this particular person had never met his or her target. Let us switch to what? Switch to haircut here. So haircut will be different. So with this now, we can now show our target. Whenever the target is met, it will cover everywhere. But this is not all we need to do. We're going to show something beyond what we have just shown now. So the very first thing I'm going to do is to actually go ahead, and if you look at it now, it has a lot of things going on here, and it makes the gauge chart very busy. So let's go to this particular part and turn off the data label, turn off the target label. The colored value should be turned off, and as well the title. We just need something as blank as this, right? So for the time being, we might not have the perfect thing we are looking forward to seeing. Let me keep it as at full mode, select nothing, right? So let's deselect the filter coming from here. Then this gives us, we're looking forward to somebody who has met everything. So we have something like this. Now I'm going to just make this a bit smaller, and I'll keep it somewhere around here. So before then, we need to do something. If you look at this now, it's not really cool because it's too huge, right? So we have to make sure we work with that. So what can we do? What number are we looking forward to using for the values we have right there? Because we need to change it. So let us go with 13. So we go over here. Value for all, we choose to use 13. This looks great, right? That is colored value. So we go to colored value here. We select all. So for the all, we want to change the unit, the way it shows up. So let us select individual one, select transaction. Once we have done that, we scroll down. We can now see we have display unit. So we put it on none. So we have something like this here. So with this now, we can go back up. So we select this one, now revenue. The display unit for revenue should be changed from this auto to none. Now we have something like this. Now let us return it back to all and make one time change to what we see. So I would love to use something like, let's go with this one and let's select 20 for it. Okay, this looks perfect right away. Okay, we can go with this one here. So once we have this, we can keep this right here. this is what we're going to do. So we'll keep this one right here. We're going to get the second one duplicated. We bring this over here. This is what we want. Over here, what we need to do is just to click over here and make a change from revenue. We're selecting transaction. Then under this particular place here, we're going to make sure we select what? We select the sum function. Here is what you need to keep. If this is actually giving you count, that means it's weird. So you have to change it to sum. By clicking here, you look at sum. So you use the sum one. So over here, we're going to change to customer. Okay. We are not done yet. The next thing we need to do is to find out how many of our, how do I say that? The percentage of the targets that were met, the targets achieved. We want to see the percentage. That is something very important to check right now. So to do that is not something very much more complex. It's something very simple. Let's see how we can get it done. By creating a new measure, over here we create a new measure. So this new measure should be revenue. Target achieved. So we just do divide. And over here we do revenue. So comma, then we go over to sum the target revenue here. So we close. The reason why we have the error is that we have not closed our sum function here. We go ahead and hit the enter key. So once we go ahead and hit the enter key, we can convert this to a percentage. So if we want decimal places for it, we can keep it, but I just want one single decimal place for it. That is what I want. Or we can remove it totally. Let us go ahead and put 0 over here. So with this done, what we can do is just to copy and replicate the same thing we have done over on this one. So this one here is actually going to be trans for transaction. So over here, then over this particular part here, we use customer target. We hit the enter key. Don't forget to have this formatted. So finally, we have gotten this created. It is time for we to use it over here. So let's go ahead and pick up any of this one. So just go and copy, then paste it down and drag it and have it somewhere around here. So we're going to make it smaller. Let us go ahead and format this first. So we go over here. Let us put it on 15. This looks great. 15 is cool, right? So click over here now. This is for target, our transaction. So we are going to visit the new one. This is, or still, if it is hard for you to get, we can just clear this away from here. So we go over here to pick it up. So have this one closed. Then this is closed. So this is the transaction target achieved. This is the transaction of target achieved. So we bring it in here. So once we have gotten this achieved, so we copy and paste, I will move this down to this particular part. So here we click, hover over it to be sure of what you have picked, or you can click on it to be sure. So we have revenue target achieved here. So this is exactly what it is. Okay, what this is telling us now is that what we are expected to have is actually 100%. So if we now have above 100%, which means this particular person has actually performed beyond necessary. And that was why it was ranked #1 by revenue. So over here, if you look at the revenue target we have is actually 1.5 million, and he made over 2 million. So which means we went above the target by 29%. Over here, the customer that was expected out of us is actually 1,423, and we got 2,060 here. So we went above it by 45% instead of we having the exact 100%. That is what it is. So now we have gotten everything we need to create, created right here. So what is left right now is for we to actually create our background, bring it up here and transform this to the next level. Then we're going to have something as beautiful as what you have seen in the introductory part of this video. The next thing now is to create a background for our dashboard to bring out the beauty. So let us click on this particular slicer here and just do this adjustment, bring it down a little bit. Okay, for now, we're going to go with this. On this one, I'm going to click on it and bring it over here. For the time being, it's going to be right here. Later, after all, we do the adjustment. You get it? So we are going to kind of move this to this side a little bit and create a white space over here, which is very, very important. Something like this is perfect. All right. So once we are done, we need to take a screenshot. So previously, I do use this particular snippet tool. If you want to use it, you can still use it. It's not some kind of, old fashioned, but I found a better way to do it. So just go to your window. You see the Windows icon, hold it down and hold the Shift key down and click on S. So which means Window, Shift and S. So you just take the part you want to take it screenshot. Like this. So with what I have done right now, I've just taken a screenshot and it's going to be saved in my clipboard. I do not have to actually save it somewhere. I will just go ahead and paste. Now we are here. The very first thing is for me to take off everything I have on this. Then I'll do my Ctrl+V. So with Ctrl+V, I have the screenshot right in here. So I'm going to adjust it to fit into this particular part. Then hold it and drag it until you have something like this. I'm going to take it up a little bit so it fits in. This is the first thing we need to do. So let's create. What is the first thing we need to do? We need to get some couple of cards in here to be used. So the first card I'm going to use is going to be this. Go to Insert and you have this part. I want to click on this one, this particular rectangle. So drag the rectangle down. So we have the rectangle here. For we to be on the same page, let us make use of this. Then over here, we want to use 7.51. So we do that by 9 or 3.9, or I think we're going to use 3.09. So let's do it. 3.09. This is exactly what we want. So once we are done, we can actually make sure it covers this particular spot here. That is good, right? We are not going to be worried about the color yet because we are going to change the color later after all. So I'm going to click on Ctrl+D to double it. I have something like this. I'm going to change its color for the time being. Let's go with something like this color here. So I'll make it smaller. I'll come over to line. I'll remove the line from it. So put it right on this particular part. We just want to show something as this, right? That is beautiful. Okay, we have gotten that achieved. What is next? We're going to look for a specific kind of... Okay, before then, let's go ahead and double this and move it right here. So with this one here now, what we are going to do is just to change the dimension, go over to shapes again, and click on this particular height. For the height, we want to reduce it to 1.87. 1.87. That is the height. Then for the weight, it's going to be 9.8. 9.8. Right, we have something like this. Okay, we position it somewhere around here, like this. So once we have done this, we're going to go over. Let me bring this down to cover up something like this. Here we go. Okay, we'll adjust it later. After all, let's do this. So let's go over to insert, and now we go to shape. So from shape, we're going to look for a very different shape here. This one, I think, let's go with this kind of shape. We are looking for the one that has some kind of, okay, something like this would be perfect, right? So with this particular kind of shape here, what you're going to do now is to actually create something like this. Over here, we change the height and the weight. So let us go with 0.68. Then next again, we go with 6.69. 6.69. We have something like this. Once we have this, I'm going to go ahead and put it at the top here. So it's at the top here right now, which shows this one should be moved up a little bit like this. Okay. I will make sure this one is coming to the top. Bring it up. Oh, sorry. Right click and say bring to front. So bring to front. So once we have gotten this done, I will create another one again. So Ctrl D to duplicate it. And this one here we are going to have its color changed. Well, quickly, let me match the first one with the color we're going to use. So I already have my color here. You can copy my color code. So over here, I have this particular kind of purple here. So here is it. Then I will go over here and remove this. Let me show you the color code in case you want it. So here is more colors. As you can see, we have this here. You can use the RGB if you're using less, recent PowerPoint. So you can use 90 for red, 67 for green, and blue is actually 135. That is what you need. So once we have done that, on this one here, we're going to actually take off this and we choose to use white for it. Okay, this is cool. What we need to do now is just to reduce this a little bit, like this. Then we can position this right here. Let's go ahead and reduce it. So it should be in the middle of it. That would create something like this for us. So once we are done with this, let's kind of go over here and change the color to match the same purple we are actually using, which is this one. Right, you got that? So with this now, we can actually have it duplicated again. And this time around, the duplicates, we're going to convert it to white. Then I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I'll keep this one here. I'll make sure this particular bottom one is not showing up. I want to show the top one. So what I will do next now is actually clicking on this one and drag it down to cover up this particular one here. So let us watch. This is what we have. So because we actually have not removed the line from here, it's creating something weird for us. So let us look at this. So this is what we have. So unfortunately, we are not maintaining centralization here. This is actually going to the left-hand corner. To do that, I can just highlight this particular part, Then I will select only the top one. Then I can decide to move it until I spot the middle part of it. Okay, so I think somewhere around here. Here we go. Right. Once we are done with this now, this is the first thing we should actually do. We are going to some kind of make sure, I think we flubbed something here. Let us click on this one here and drag it down like this. Right. Then click on this particular one and take it up. Now we're going to send this one to back, which is this white one. We send it to back. So once we send it to back, it's going behind this particular screenshot we have here. Right click on the screenshot and send the screenshot to back as well. Now it reflects this particular one here for us. So once we have this, this is what we're looking forward to seeing. We're going to go ahead and get this particular one here duplicated, this very one. You see it? So you can control how you want to go. What we need now is that we want to be on the same page. So let's go over to shape, format, and we change the height as well, the width. So we do 2.40, 2.40, I think let's go with 48. Now for the width, we're going to do 9.89, 9.89. So we have something like this. Okay. So here we go. I'll place it somewhere around here. So this is how it goes. We have just created something very interesting. This is what we really want to create. Okay. I can just make sure I take this up a little bit. Yeah, let us leave it for the time being like this. We can adjust it later after all. So we have something like this. So let us go over here. We are using 9.89, 2.48. Okay, it's cool. All right, with this here, we are good to go. The next thing now is for we to create something over here. I think this would look some kind of a bit out of point. Let's take it up a bit, just like this. And we just do this. I'm going to take this one in. Take this one in a bit. Okay, let's go with this. We can adjust things, as I've said earlier. We can adjust things later to match what we want. But for the time being, we can just go with this. Once we are done, now we can get this one duplicated. We have it here. So we want to make sure we some kind of do this. But what if we stay be on the same page by using the shape format here for the height and the weight? So let's go with 427. We'll do that by 309, 3.09. Here we go. What did we do? Let's do it again. So the height here, oh, we didn't have the point, 4.27. Here is it. So we're bringing this one down. So we create a white space here. Very important, but we don't need it on this one here. We should leave it this way, right? Once we are done with that, Ctrl D to duplicate it. This one we don't need to take the measurement. So the space we have would be to cover up this particular part right here. And we want to make sure there's a white space on this particular one. So this one would actually be formatted to be white. This one will be formatted to be white. So if you look at the mock-up we did before we started our project, we are going accordingly to it. So I will come over here. I'm going to convert this one to white. Then on this particular one here, we change this one to the purple we're using. Something like this. Okay. I am going to tell you categorically that we are done with this. what else we need to do? We can go ahead and take this off. So if we do that, it's not looking beautiful. So hold your control key to select those ones and click on this one. The next thing you do, select a blank space where there is no card like this here, and go over to here and change its color. So what if we go with this particular color? It looks some kind of too weird, right? So let us mix our color ourselves. To mix the color, you can actually go to more colors, and over here we can select and delete everything we have in here. Let us go with F4 or F7. Then we use the double E. So with this, click on OK. So it gives you something like this. So the color is complemented. This is what we need to do to have this created. So we would come here to adjust things, but for the time being, we are going to go with something like this. If you want to create a darker version of this, maybe it's not complementing enough, you can go over here and click on more colors. So with more colors now, you can just bring this down a little bit. Just be very careful while doing this. Bring it down. Watch here and see what you have. You click on OK. Now you can see this would look perfectly okay. With this, we are good to go, right? I'm going to tell you firsthand that for the first time, we are done creating what we want right here. So let us actually export this and import it to Power BI and see what we have. To do that, you click over File, and from File, you go to Export. From Export, you click on Change File Type, and you select any one of this that you want. So let us go with JPG. So we are here. I can just have this as O1. Then I'll click on Save, just this one. So we are back to our Power BI environment. This time around, we are going to actually select just this, and we go to Canvas background, and we push this on 100%, right? I think that transparency should be at 0%. Let us use 0%. We're going to go ahead and bring in the image. So here we have it. We'll click on Open. This is what we have. So unfortunately, something weird is happening right now. What should we do? We click on this one. We convert it to white. Doesn't really work that way. What can we do? I'm thinking, let's go back to View and select any of this color here. So this will definitely help us to match the background and avoid these particular weird colors that we have right here. Okay, this is what it is. We have gotten this here. It is time for we to actually do some transformation to actually get dashboard ready to be as clean as what we want. Right now, the background is here. It's not looking anywhere pretty as we thought. So let's just do it. Let us start with this particular card right here. So we're going to format it. For the first time, we want to match this particular color we have on our background with this one. Not the color on the cards, not the white, not the purple, but the color here where I have my cursor writing to fill the unselected one. So we have selected it. We just have to go to Image. What's the images? Okay, let's go to Button. So we'll go to Button. So at default, we want to change the color. So we don't want border for it. We take off the border. It's gone, right? That is good. Then the next one is for we to go to the fill color. If we turn the fill color off, now it affects this particular selected one. So we are going to make sure we go over here, selected one, turn it off, that is gone. Now we can go over to the default one now and open up this particular place, and let us go ahead and match this. So over here, we need to actually give it the color code, which is this particular one right here that matches this particular color code. And now it has actually changed for us, right? So once we have done that, that is the first thing we need to do. The next thing is to match this particular color we have right here. In case you have forgotten what color is this, what you need to do is to go quickly back to here, click on this, and you have selected it. So click over here and go to more colors. You can copy the color code from here. So Control A, Control C to copy. Let's get back. Now we are going to select where. Let's go up here, select this particular part where it says selected. Then we match the selected to the right color, which is this, paste it in here. Now this is what it is, right? So if I should do this now, I would love to just take it up a little bit, open it up a little bit like this. So the images are not in any way clear. And as well, the values we have right now, which is the ranking, is not showing up very well. So what I'm going to do is this, the fill color is okay. Let's go over to close up this one, the button. Let's go to this particular callout value, right? For the callout value, the default color is okay. It's fine the way it is. Then we should scroll all the way down. Then for the label, so we just go down and we change this one to match something like this. That will pop out very well. This is cool, right? So what if we try to select the color that matches this particular color right here? That might actually work. Okay, something like this would look very okay. But the selected one, we have done for unselected one. The selected one now, what do? We go over to here and we select this selected. We scroll all the way down again. We are here, we put it on white, but not this bright white. Something like this would complement the color we have above. All right, once we have done this, we can decide to put it at italic, just like this. Nicely done. So when we select this now, you can see it switches and this is looking very pretty. All right, the next thing I don't like here is when I hover over it, I have this effect. What I want to see is when I hover, I should see white, or I should see a different color. So if you want something like this, you can keep it, but I would keep it like this though. Now, this is too blur. I would have to work around with my images. So let's turn off this. We go to images and you know the drill. We select this selected one first. So we come over here for the blur. We do this and we take it back again. I don't know why Microsoft did this. You would have to go back here and now choose the default one. Quickly you go over here and the blur should be reduced. So reduce the blur a bit. So it's on 15. Let us put it on something like this would look very okay now. I think we're going to use 8. 8 is okay. So when I select this now, it just look like this. All right. I'm going to tell you firsthand, we are done with this. So it has given us what we want. Look at the slicer. It's looking pretty nice, right? Okay, what is next? The next thing now is to actually do something on this one. On this one here, I will click on this particular slices, select this color, right? Then click on the next one here, and let's go with this very color here. This color looks cool, but we want something that looks deeper than this color we have here. So we click on more and we can mix our color from here. So let us bring this one backward and select something from here. A very strong one. We want it to be a little bit dark. Okay, now this is okay. We want something like this. Pretty nice. So for the legend, we need to work on the legend. So we go over to the text of the legend here. Then we click and we select this. That shows up very well. All right. So do we need to put a title for it? Yes, of course. The title is on. We go over to here and we'll put the title at this color. Great, huh? So we have the, what do I call it? We have this particular one here. So we go all the way to values and we select this and we choose to have this color. That shows up the data label for us. So for the data label is okay. I think over here now we are done. Let us focus on this one. So for the very first time, I'm going to come over here and do Ctrl A to select everything. Then we come over here to select this particular kind of color. Let us verify what we have. Now, this is cool. So what if I some kind of highlight this part here and bold it and highlight this particular one and have it bold. Okay, let's do this as well. This should be on italic and bold as well. So that highlights that particular week over week. That is what we want people to put their focus right on. Okay, once we have done that, we can click over on this one right now. The very first thing I'm going to address is this particular part here. It's not looking nice to me. So we have to go to data label. We are here. So we have to select revenue. So we scroll all the way down. Instead of we having auto, let us use inside end. I think inside end will be okay. So let us go to the value here and we choose to see the value as none. So let us go to value as none. Then this would look perfectly okay. Okay, so nicely done. So the next thing now is for we to walk around with the bars. So with the bars, we select revenue again. Now we select this color and we change it to this particular color. So it matches this very color here. As you can see, our dashboard is taking shape. So if you look at it, we have this particular part here that has to do with our, what do I call it? A negative and positive value. So we don't want to invent a different color that is different from the color we had been using. So we're going to take this green off and represent green with purple. And this red is too sharp. We want to make it a very calm red. So I'm going to go over here. So just for a while, duplicate this, keep it right here. And let us mix a color here. Okay, I think this color looks okay. Or I can choose this one. This one is not too bloody. So let us compare both this and something like this. Can you see it now? Let's go with this one. So if I'm to go with this one, I will go over here and copy its color code, right? So we cancel. So we jump back here. So let's go over to this. I will search for CF, conditional formatting for weekday, right? So where we have red, we are going to place this to it. And if I hit my enter key, it should actually solve the problem for me right now. Can you see? It's calm now. So let's some kind of go and get the color we are going to use. Click on this one and we go to the bar. We select this, we copy its color code from here. So we come over here and replace the color code with this one here. That is all you need to do. You know, I told you we're going to change all of this and we have just changed this. So we are now matching the positive color with this one here, which make a lot of sense right now. So what about this particular part here, which is, let's go over here. That should be under data labels. We go over to value. No. Where the heck is it? So let's select blank measure. So the blank measure now, we go to value here. For the value, we want to make it darker so that it can actually pop out very well. And it does. So I'm going to tell you first time that we are done with this. So we can just go away from here now. So this is what we have. It has more context than the previous one. Okay, it is time for we to play around with our line chart here. So all we just have to do is just like a single click. So we just need to go to line. From line, we select what? Oh, nothing to be selected. We just have one single value there. So we just go down and change the color to match this. And this is what we have. So if we don't like the weight of this particular shading part right here, we click over here and we scroll down and here you can remove it. I want to have it, right? So if I take it this way, it looks pretty much, this is weird. So what do? We take it this way. So you can keep reducing it over here until you have your desired or wherever. So you understand? Let us put this at 95. 95. 95 looks perfectly okay. So I want to go with something like this. Okay, what is next? So we just go for the X axis. We go to the value. We turn on the X axis. We go with this color. We are looking for more darker color. This is the version we're going to use. So that is for time. Then we quickly go ahead and do this here. Now we have to do this different color. For the closing time here, I would want to go with a color that is something like this color here would definitely match this particular color. Then for this particular one, let us use our normal color because it's the opening time. So we go over here and we select, we choose this color. Can you see it now? So once you are done, if you look at it now, I can click on this here, this title, and I will make sure I bring it down a bit. All right, so we come over here, we select something very calm. So we select this one as well. Hold your control key to select both of them at the same time. So we want to go ahead and select this. This is cool. Then for this one here, we want to change this to something like this. So once we have done that, let us go with 15 and see what we have on 15. So 15 looks great already. It looks great. So if we want to go with 15, that is fine. What else do we need to do? We have to change its color to look very calm. We don't want something that is too harsh, right? So what do we do right now? Think this is not something I really cherish. What if we go with different? Okay, let's go with this. I'll go over here and select this one. So now this is how I want it. I don't want it to actually overshadow others. So we just keep something like this. All right, on this one here right now, we are going to actually make use of the new slicer that we have available. So first of all, we're going to turn off this very one here and quickly go ahead to this particular part, scroll all the way down and choose the new slicer here. Okay, with this, we have to make some kind of adjustment here. So let's go over here and put this on 1. Then we just have to do this. And we go ahead and do this. Let's quickly go back and turn off the title. Then that gives us something like this. So the next thing we have to do is to go to the shape here. And for the shape, we use the rectangle. We just change the rectangle to the cycled one. So pretty too much, we just reduce this. Then we are going to go with something like this, right? Okay, all we have to do is just to make an adjustment. So let's go with 10. I can move this to stay here like this. Will be cool. All right. So we need to work with the selected one. Let's go to button. So on the selected one, I will choose, first of all, I'll choose the unselected one, which is the default one, this very one here. So I'm going to take off the border away from it. Then we go to the fill color. We match the fill color with this particular color right here. You remember this color? That is the color of the background without any of the cards, right? So once we have done that, we go all the way back up again. Then we click on this and we go to select. So for the selected version of it, we want to go to this color that matches what is actually active right now, right? So if the month is active, we should switch the color to month. And everything here disappears. We only have this particular monthly revenue trend right here. All right. So for this, I want to turn on the y-axis. It's very important for me. So we go over to the y-axis here. We locate the value for the y-axis. So we turn it on. So I want to see something like this, right? Okay. Once we have this now, You can just play around with this to see what you have. So this is exactly what it is. So you remember when I told you we're going to go back to PowerPoint? Yeah, we will go back to PowerPoint. But before then, let's kind of select this particular area like this. That helps us to select all of those ones. So I can just go ahead and manually shift it inside a little bit. So now I would like to have something like this. Okay, before we go back to PowerPoint, let us focus now on this one. What is the first thing we need to do? Let us go to the card. For the card, we have selected all. We go for background, we turn it on, and we select from white, we choose to have this color here. So this is the color we want to have. But if you look at it, the values here are not looking in any way pretty right now. So no problem, we will actually fix that. So for the border, we're going to see no border at all. So first of all, let us kind of deselect it and select this very one here and change the background. So we select the background, we remove it. So click over here and we'll remove the background from here. So once we have it, we have this one clicked. Can I do this at the same time? I have selected both of them. So we go over to this particular color. Then we've changed the fill color to match this very color we have here. Right? So let us try something here. We want to find somebody who do not meet up his or her target. Then you can see what we have. Now it's looking cool, right? Then select the card itself, this very one. So we have to go to callout value here. So from callout value, we put it on all. We scroll down, we select white. So if this looks some kind of too bright, what do? We can actually change it, right? We can change it. So it looks bright, and I want to change the value first. Increase the size of the value. Very important. So all still, let's select, let's go with this. Yeah, this one looks perfect, right? So we can change our mind from, okay, the bright color should be okay. Let's do with the bright color, the bright white color. So now we are going to go for, I think the layout. Select it again, go down, label, here we go. So this one, we're selecting this color. That shouldn't overshadow this very one here. This is actually okay. So we are done with all of this. The next thing is for we to actually go over to the reference label here. And on the reference label, if we scroll down, we're going to see where it says background and divider. So for the background, we have to choose the same color as our card, which is something like this. So because we selected just one, it's going to give us something like this. So what if I just go ahead and remove, just close this. Let's go all the way to the top and put this on all. Then scroll down for the background and now choose this color. So we have it for both, right? So when we have it for both, we go for the value for both. We change the value to this, right? That is cool. So the next thing is for we to go ahead and change the title. Let's switch it off. You can see where the title is. So now we go over here. The title shouldn't overshadow the value, so we go with this color. Can you see it now? This is what we have. Don't forget that we have to some kind of change the color of the variance here. It's very, very important. So we're going to change the color of the variance. So what are you expecting? For the color of the variance, when the target is being met, what we actually want is to have this color. Is to have this color. When it is not, we want to have something like this color here. So we already have something in place to actually help us to do that. So what do? We just go ahead and copy it and just make a change. That is all. Okay, let's do that. We go over here. And this one as well, we're going to change the color as well. But just let us focus on this particular percentage we have right here. So over here now. Select your calculations. New measure. So to zoom this particular measure here, your control and the plus will definitely give you something like this. So I'm going to say CF for reference revenue, be specific. So what I'll do now, I'll just say if the total revenue, so if it is some kind of less than what? So less than the sum of target set revenue here. So we go and close. So we want comma. So we want to see red, for example. Let's try this. Otherwise, we want to see green. So once we are done, we can close the if and hit the enter key. This is exactly what we should do. All right. So before we actually do anything, we want to know what is the color code of this particular one here. So I can click on this one and get its color code for us. So we go over here, click on this, and here we go. We select this color code. So this color code depicts good, right? So let's go here. Now we go to CF reference. So if it depicts good, that means it's going to be over here. So we hit our enter key. We have gotten this. So I told us that we don't want to use a very sharp red, right? So we have to be specific. If you remember, we picked this particular red here. So we can actually pick it again to stay consistent. So first of all, I'm going to use it to update this very one here. So just click over here and this, we paste it in here. So it has changed it and match it sits with this one here. So if we go back to the reference, we can just give it to the red. So this is what we have right now. All right. So I am going to copy this, everything from here. So have it copied, then create a new measure. With this new measure here, we're going to create for target that has to do with the customers that we have as a target. So we paste this in. Reference, this one should be, let's do transaction is just like equals to customers. So what we need to do here is instead of we having revenue here, we take off the revenue and we do this. So instead of us to have the revenue targets, we are going to have the customer target. So we go with the customer target here. That is all we need to do. So now we are ready to use the two measures we have created. So quickly, let's go on it. So we have to be on, click on the card itself. Let's go to the reference labels. So make sure what is selected here is actually transaction. Once that is done, we go down. So the transaction has this particular color. Let us, okay, transaction is selected. Let's go back up. Over here on that select label, we select this particular percentage here, right? Once we have done that, you can now see over here, you can control the color you have in it. So let's go over and select this color now. Now it affects this one. This is not what we want, right? What we are looking forward to changing is this particular one here. Let's just return this one back to its normal color. So we scroll down and we go to value. Under value, we can change this. Click on the FX here. And over here, you click on the field value. Over here, just select search for CF, and we use the reference that has to do with trans, and we just click on OK. So can you see? That changes. So let us see why. Because the target was not met. Can you see it? Then the next thing is for we to do for this one here. So we select here now revenue. But once we go down under this particular part here, you select revenue variance. You go down here under value. So we go ahead and make a change of this, and we go to CF. So from CF, we select this particular one here. We click on OK, and that gives us something like this. So can you see that now? This is very important for you to know. Okay, with this here, what else do we need to do? We have to give a conditional formatting to this. We are going to create it separately. And how do we do that? I think we still have this on our clipboard. If we are not really sure, we can just go ahead and copy this, right? So go over to here and create a new measure. So on this new measure, I have this pasted in here. So with the pasted one, CF conditional formatting, I can just say G chart, forget chart, and that is for revenue. So what I'm going to do now is just to remove all of this from here. We don't need those conditions. So what I need to do is just to say if the variance, which is the, put my listing here. So we have something called revenue variance here. If it is actually less than 0. Now, if it is less than 0, I think that should be, I don't know, what do I have here? This should be red. So if it is less than 0, we should be seeing red. Would we use greater than 0? Okay, let's go with this for the time being. We can change it later after all. It's just for me to check this one here. So I have this. All I have to do again is just to copy the same one and do, this is for revenue. We're going to do for transaction. So we paste this one in here, and I'm going to do trans. So over here, instead of me seeing this, I will go for trans variance. Revenue. Let's go. Let me type trans. Trans variance here. I hit my enter key. So if this is true, we should be seeing this particular color that is some kind of reddish right now. But if it is false, that means we have to actually make a change. So let's quickly go over here and give what is some kind of expected out of us to it. Go to color. Instead of we having the default color here, click on this, and let's go over to this. So now we use CF. So conditional formatting for revenue. So we click on OK. That is correct. So we are good to go. So select this one, and you click over here. You switch it to this one, and this time around, and that's CF again. We're going to go for the transaction one. Once we click on it now, you have something like this. So let us look at this. If I select this person that met his target, so we have the color to match this particular color right here. So I think I deserve a like. So please leave a comment and just say thank you, even though if you have nothing to say with what we have done right now. Okay, nobody can tell what is actually here as a percentage. So what we need to do right now is to find a way to tell the end users what actually is going on right here. To do that now, we can go to this particular text box here. So once the text box is up, we can actually say target achieved. So target achieved, highlight it. And let's use, I love this font a lot. So let us use that font, and I can put it on bold. So make it a bit smaller. So in the middle, the color should be something like this color. Then we bring it over here. Let's go over to this part here and turn off this one. So the boldness is not really helping matter. So we're just going to take off the boldness and leave it as something like this, right? So Control A again. I think let's go with, this is cool. So all we have to do is just to bring it down a little bit, and Control C, then Control V to paste, new one, and bring it over to this particular spot here. Now the story is clear. All right, the final touch we're going to do to this is very simple. We have this particular divider here. The divider is not looking pretty for now. So what I'm going to do is to actually make sure I some kind of go to the card. So if I go to the card, we have a divider, not on the card. Divider is actually not on the card, it's on the reference. So we scroll all the way down under the reference. We have a divider under the reference. Let us go ahead and choose to use all. So with the all, we have a divider. If I turn divider off, it's gone, but we want to keep the divider, right? And click over here and make sure the divider weight is on 3, like this, very thick, right? So we have to change its color to match this color here. So once it matches this color, we do the transparency like this. So this looks better. So we can decide to reduce the transparency not to look too much. So let's go with, are we increasing or we are decreasing? So let's put it on, let us put it on 80. So 80 looks perfectly okay. Now we have something that makes a lot of sense. You get it now? So I can just go ahead and bring this down a little bit. So if you want to bring this down, select it. So all you have to do is just to do arrow down, and we have something like this. So look at the KPI, compare it to the version we have before we start the transformation. You can now see that we have more insight coming out of here than what we have before, right? So if you're thinking this is looking flat, you can actually add one more thing. Click over here. Now let's go to card. So when we get to card now, we scroll down, we have this particular accent bar here. So we just choose that. But before we do it, we are on all now. If I just go ahead and click, it's actually everywhere. So you might not see it, but I can see it, a dark thing here. So let us click back on it. I'm going to turn it off. So I'll go over here. I'm going to select my transaction, then come over to this particular part and turn this on. Then let's open it up, and we save to the left. This is where it is at the left side. So we select this very color for it at the left side. And I told you it should be on 3. Okay, I think something like this, 5 is okay. So for the 5, I'm going to make sure it's not some kind of too much. So let's do something like this, right? Okay, once we are done, we can go over here and choose this revenue. Then we scroll down, turn this on at the left. So we put it at 5. So we select the same color for it. So now this one should be a bit brighter than the previous one. I think I have something like this. So this makes my card to look some kind of cartoon. So what about this? All right, we are almost done with it. So we need actually a title for this, which is very simple to be created. All right, we are almost done. Go ahead and type the title of your dashboard, Salon Metrics dashboard here. Over here, I'm going to bring this down a little bit here. Just bring it down a bit So because I want to create a space, within this one here, right? So once we have done that, what I'm going to do now is just do some kind of come over here and change what I have here to something that looks like this. So first of all, I'm going to click on this and use the format painter on this very one. But actually, this is not what I want. I can actually make sure I change it and make sure it gives me exactly what I want. So before it actually changed, we have to make sure we take it off from this basic to the advanced one here. Right. So it has worked. Okay. We want that. So what we can do now is to go to the layout here and we use just 2. Right. We use 2. And with the 2 here, I can just bring this down like this. So this is where I want to have it, right in. So I'll bring this down here. Okay. Once we have done this, let's just go to remove the layout. And now we are going to do something different that we have not done before. I think that should be under button. We scroll down, we see the border. We take off the border, we see the fill, we take off the fill. There is no fill on it right now, right? So for the selected one, what we want to see when we select, we should go to the fill color. That is the callout value. Selected one, we want to see this particular color for the selected one, which is the same color we are using here. So with that, we can actually increase the size to look like this. When we have a selection, we want to have something like this, right? So for the default one, which is the unselected one, we still want to increase it just by this. But now we are going to select something that is similar to that particular color. Let's go with this color. This one looks okay. And now if we deselect it, we have something like this. So it has border around it. So what I'm going to do is just to click on it. Make sure I click on this one. Any other of it is okay. So we go to the defaults, go to the button. Where could that be? So click here, default, the under button, then the border should be taken off. So we've taken the border away right now. So nobody can tell if it has fill color or border color because already we have removed all of them. So when I make selection, how do people know that this is what I've selected? This is where the magic happens. So select this one, then go over to the button here. Then you have to select the selected one here. So you scroll down, you turn this one on, open it up, and here you have it. So you have this one. We're going to change it to match this particular color we have right here, and we increase the weight of it. So we want this particular weight. But unfortunately, we don't want to keep something like this. We want to make it a little bit curvy. It makes a lot of sense when we have something like that. So what do? We click on it and quickly we go all the way to layout, or sorry, go to shape, and we change it to rectangle like this. So this is what it's going to give to you. We can just adjust what we have here to match what we want. Okay, let's go with something like this. So when there is a selection, we want to have this. So if I switch to this one now, we want to have this. So if there is no selection, we want to have something like this, but not as what we have right now. Let's scroll down to this part here. Under button, you select default, and we go ahead and turn on this one. So once the default has been turned on, you can put default at this, and you reduce the opacity or transparency. So it will show that something is actually selected. We want to put it on the same color like this here, but it's going to give you something like this. But if you look at it now, it affects both of them. I don't know why Microsoft is doing this. So I'm going to return it back here now. So what I'll do for the first time is to go over here. No, go over to here, select this one, scroll all the way down, and I will do this. It will affect the selected one. I'm going to bring it all the way back again, then go back and now select the default one. That is what I want to affect. So I can scroll all the way down and just reduce this transparency a little bit. So it only affects this particular one, which is perfectly okay for me. So I can put it on 5. This is done. Okay. So now somebody can tell which one is selected. Is this one? If I switch to this one now, I have this, right? This is exactly what effect we want to look forward to seeing. So if we are very much satisfied with this, the next thing right now is to actually make sure we have it, something that shows what is there. So I will keep this right here. So let's say service type filter. So Control A, come here, do this. So for the service type filter, we have to change this. So let's go over to my favorite. When it comes to something like this, I choose to use something like this here, right? So I'll just keep it somewhere around here. So copy and paste it. So I'll bring this down to be on this particular part. So which will make me to actually make sure I bring this one down a bit, while this one here should be okay. We just do this. All right, almost done 100%. So what is left right now is that I'm going to actually get this back to PowerPoint. So to do that now, you know the drill. Just go to your Window, Shift, and S, and you take a screenshot of this. So we're going to take a screenshot of this, sorry, Window, Shift, S. So we take this screenshot. So that is perfect. Release it. So we are here. I'm going to remove this. I'll paste this over here. This is what we want. Okay. Once we are here now, we can go ahead and go to shapes and pick up this. So this is what I want to have here. Let us quickly go over here and take off the outline. Then change this to white. So we have something that looks like this. Bring it out a little bit. So Ctrl D to duplicate it. Then we do this color. All right. So once we have them like this, what I will do now is to make sure this one, I will just move it a little bit. Then now get this one off. So what I'll be doing now is just to make sure I aim this particular part, select both of them and send them to back. So it gives me this effect. So on this particular one here, what I will do, I will actually reduce the transparency a little bit. So I should be aiming on the colored one. So once selected, you just target. Yeah, it's selected now. So we don't want to keep a very bright color like this. So this is cool. I think this is all we want to make an adjustment to. So we click over here, export. We just go ahead and do JPG and we replace the previous one, which is this one. And we'll click on yes, then just this one. We go ahead and collect it. So over here, we pick the background. So it gives us something like this. On this one, it has a background on it, and the background makes it look beautiful, right? So we can keep it this way. We can keep the background, or can decide to remove the background from it. So now, can you compare it to the previous one? Oh, I'm so sorry. We left one particular place. Which is this particular one here. We want to make something a little bit different from what we have right now over here. I'm so sorry for that. We have to go all the way back. So paste it here now. And what we need to do is just to go over to insert, and we click on shapes. We take normal rectangle. So we are going to drag it over here to cover up this particular place. So we just move it a bit to create a space here. This is what we are looking forward to seeing. Okay, once we have done that, we actually remove this one. Then we go over here, we select the same color for it. And we just want to drop this a bit. Like this is okay. We can go ahead and have this removed. Then we have something like this. So go back and finally we export. Choose the same thing. Make sure you replace the previous one. Yes, and just this one. So we are finally going out of this place, and we just go ahead and collect it again. So this is what we have. So which means we have to just go ahead and adjust something like this here. So we need to change the color to match what we have right here. So what we do now is to go over to the title, and we select a bolder font for it. When we scroll down, this version should be bold enough to collect what we want. And we can just go ahead and select something very much darker that will pop out from the background we have right for it. So let's go ahead and take this one inside a little bit like this. And I'm going to tell you first then that we are done 100%. So does this deserve a like, or you think this actually deserves a subscription or a comment? So let me know what you think in the comment section, because we have just transformed the basic dashboard that you have seen previously from the start into this. So